Rain darkened the pavement outside the convenience store, turning the parking lot into a mirror of streetlights and passing headlights. Dr. Amina Carter stepped out, bag in hand, coat collar pulled up, head lowered against the wind. She had just left a late community meeting, another night listening to residents speak about fear, harassment, being watched instead of protected. The patrol car rolled up before she reached her car. Engine idle. Lights off. A quiet predator's posture. Officer Rourke stepped out. Tall, pale, jaw tight, hand already near his holster. Store was robbed last week, he said, voice flat. Show me your receipt, Amina paused. I just paid. I'm walking to my car. Rourke's eyes didn't move to the bag. They stayed on her skin, her hair, her presence in a place he clearly believed she did not belong. Don't make this difficult. The words were soft, but something sharp curled beneath them. She held out the receipt. No sudden movement. No raised voice. Calm, precise. He didn't look at it. Instead, he stepped in, grabbed her arm and shoved. Her back hit metal. The impact rang through bone and steel. Gasps from onlookers. A phone lifted. Someone whispered her name, but quietly, like a secret. Rourke's lips thinned. You people never learn. Amina slowly raised her head. Rainwater traced her jaw. She hadn't revealed her badge, not yet. The moment held, coiled, waiting to snap, cut to black. Rain tapped the metal roof of the patrol car, slow and steady. Amina stood with her back against the cold surface, breath controlled, eyes steady. Officer Rourke kept one hand near his holster, the other hovering in command of the space, as if ownership of air itself could be claimed. Keep your hands where I can see them, he said. Her fingers loosened around the plastic bag, letting it hang plainly at her side. I'm not resisting. You're raising your voice. She wasn't. A woman near the entrance whispered. Should someone say something? A man next to her answered. Phone's already recording. Just keep filming. Rourke took a step closer. You think I'm playing with you? Amina's voice stayed level. I showed you the receipt. Rourke didn't look at the receipt. He looked at her coat, her posture, her presence. Judgment wasn't in his words. It lived in the silence between them. Backup sirens approached. One slow, one distant. Officer Daniels stepped out of the second car, younger, eyes uncertain. What's going on? Rourke's reply was immediate. Suspicious behavior. Possible theft. Daniels glanced at the bag. That's one item, Rourke snapped. Procedure is procedure. Amina inhaled. The air was wet asphalt and static tension. I would like to leave, she said. Rourke moved first. He grabbed her wrist. The motion was practiced, too practiced. Amina didn't jerk away. She didn't flinch. She let the moment reveal itself fully. Gasps from the watching crowd. Daniels hesitated. Maybe we should. Rourke cut him off. Cuff her. Amina spoke evenly. You are detaining me without cause. Rourke leaned in. His breath was warm against cold rain. 'Cause is whatever I say it is. The words landed. Heavy, familiar, historic. Daniels swallowed hard. I'll get the cuffs. Phone's recorded. No one interrupted. The metal clicked around her wrists. Not violently, almost gentle. That was the part that cut deepest. Routine injustice. Casual harm. A gesture so practiced it felt like bureaucracy more than violence. Rourke pulled her forward. Turn around. Don't make a scene. Amina walked. Not dragged. Not stumbling. Her spine stayed straight. A voice from the crowd finally rose. Do you know who she is? Rourke stopped. His grip tightened, but no one answered. The silence was a verdict. Rain continued falling. The lights of the store flickered overhead. The recording phones held steady, and Amina said nothing. Not yet. The holding room was small, a square painted in a color meant to calm, but too pale to feel warm. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, steady, indifferent. Amina sat at the metal table, hands cuffed in front of her, posture composed, breathing slow. She did not look at the mirrored wall, though she could feel eyes behind it. Bootsteps passed by the door. Keys jingled. Laughter somewhere down the hall, too casual for the hour. Two officers spoke just outside, unaware, or uncaring, that sound travels. She didn't even argue. That's how you know she knew she did something. Nah, man, I've seen this before. They get real quiet when they're trying to think of a story. And Rourke? He's solid. He doesn't pick people out for no reason. Silence. Then, the tone shifted. Lower, like something being said with a door half shut. Still, though. She looked educated. The way she talked. You think she might sue? She won't, they never do. Not really. System eats that stuff. PR smooths it over. A chair squeaked. Someone yawned. Someone else chuckled. Anyway, Rourke will be back on patrol next week. Amina watched the surface of the table. Her reflection was faint, blurred by the room's lighting. Not a portrait. A suggestion. She waited. Waited because silence was not surrender. It was observation. The door opened. Officer Harrigan entered, older, heavyset, with a clipboard and a coffee he didn't offer. He didn't look at her face first. He looked at her wrists. You were uncooperative, he said. I complied, Amina answered. You refused instructions. No. He clicked his pen. Officer Rourke reported, I am requesting my phone call. Harrigan's jaw moved slowly. Chewing on irritation, or discomfort, you'll have that. But paperwork comes first. She looked up, meeting his eyes for the first time. Her voice was steady. I will speak when I choose to speak. Harrigan hesitated, just a second, but enough to register. Something in her tone didn't fit the script he expected. He placed the clipboard down. Name, Amina Carter. He wrote it without recognition. Occupation. She did not respond. He tapped the pen. Occupation. The silence thickened, not loud, not confrontational. Simply undeniable. He exhaled. Look, lady. If you want this to go easy, just answer the door swung open. A younger desk officer, breath slightly short, stepped in. Eyes flicked between them. She's on the intake list, the younger officer said. But, we have... A flag, Harrigan frowned. A flag? High-level credential match. Harrigan turned sharply toward Amina. What kind of credential? The younger officer swallowed. Commissioner level. The room stilled. The humming lights seemed louder. Harrigan's voice dropped, almost a whisper. Your name. Say it again. She did not raise her tone. She did not lean forward. She simply spoke. Dr. Amina Carter, Commissioner of Police Oversight and Standards. The younger officer's face flushed pale. Harrigan's pen slid from his fingers, hitting the table with a small metallic clatter. No one moved to pick it up. Outside the door, footsteps hurried. A whispered exchange. A door slamming. The building shifting into a different temperature. A different hierarchy. Harrigan cleared his throat. There must have been a mistake. Amina finished. Harrigan's voice broke into fragments. Rourke he wouldn't. Amina looked at him. Not angry. Not triumphant, just present. Remove the cuffs, she said. Harrigan scrambled for the key. His hands weren't steady now. The metal clicked open. The cuffs lifted away. Her wrist bore faint marks, not bruises, not wounds, just evidence. She stood slowly. The chair didn't scrape. Her movements were deliberate, grounded. The younger officer spoke softly, voice nearly trembling. Do you need anything? Amina straightened her coat sleeves, smoothing the fabric where the metal had pressed. I need the officer who detained me to remain uninformed of my identity, she said. For now. Both officers froze. Commissioner, I don't think... She looked at them with the steadiness of someone who does not ask for permission to exist. This is a systemic matter, she said. Not a personal grievance, Harrigan's throat bobbed. We'll notify the chief. No, Amina said. I will. She walked toward the door. No one stopped her. Outside, the hallway was suddenly quiet. Officers who looked up immediately looked down again. The shift was not fear, it was recognition. The truth rearranging the room. She passed them without speaking. The fluorescent light followed her to the exit. Inside, the station held its breath. And somewhere in a small room across the building, Officer Rourke sat filling out his report, unaware that the ground under him had just changed shape. The video hit the internet before sunrise. Not through news channels, not yet, but through phones, group chats, neighborhood pages. Grainy at first, then stabilized and reposted, then captioned in bold white text that traveled faster than context ever could. Officer shoves unarmed black woman outside corner store. No provocation, no threat. The clip didn't show her title. Didn't show her education. Didn't show her years rebuilding community trust brick by brick. It showed the shove. It showed the cuffs. It showed silence. By mid-morning, it had 60,000 shares. By noon, there were reporters outside the precinct. Inside the administrative wing, the police chief stood with both hands pressed flat against his desk, like holding the wood steady could stop the building from shaking. Chief Hammond was a wide man with a voice that used to feel reassuring. Today it cracked. "You were arrested?" he said, the words barely fitting in his mouth. Amina sat across from him, posture composed. Her wrists no longer bore marks. Her eyes were clear. "Yes. You didn't identify yourself?" "No." Hammond dragged a hand across his forehead. "Amina, you are the police commissioner. You oversee conduct and accountability. If I had identified myself," she interrupted, "they would have behaved differently, and the truth would have disappeared." He stopped speaking. The room stayed quiet long enough for the sound of reporters outside to seep in, shutters clicking like insects, voices muffled through brick. "Look," Hammond said finally, sitting. "This is going to explode. There are already protests forming on Jefferson Avenue. I'm aware. And Officer Rourke—" Hammond hesitated. "He claims you were confrontational." Amina lifted her gaze. "Was I?" It wasn't a question. It was a mirror. Hammond exhaled. "We have procedure. We have union rules. We can't just—" "This is not about one officer," she said. "This is about a pattern." He slumped back. "The mayor will want to speak to you. That's fine, and the public will expect a statement." "No," Amina said. "The public will expect consequences." Outside the office window, 2 junior officers hurried down the hall. They didn't look inside, but their shoulders tightened, as though proximity to this conversation might burn. Across town, Rourke sat on his couch. The blinds were half closed, blocking late afternoon light. The television was on, muted, news anchors speaking his name in silent captions. He leaned forward, elbows on knees, hands clasped too tight. "They're making this a race thing," he muttered to the empty room. "This is procedure." She didn't comply. That's all. But his voice held something brittle. His phone buzzed, a text from a fellow officer. "You okay, man? Command says to lay low." Another. "Video looks bad. Just stay off socials." Another. "People are gathering outside headquarters. This is messy." Rourke set the phone down, picked it back up, set it down again. He stood abruptly, pacing, palms dragging across his face. She could have just said who she was. He said to the wall, voice rising. "She wanted this. She set me up." But even he didn't believe it fully, not in the quiet. Back at the precinct, Amina stood in a small press briefing room. Hammond stood beside her, shoulders squared but hands fidgeting. A dozen microphones pointed toward them like weapons, flashbulbs, whispers, a sense of waiting, like everyone held the same breath. Hammond began, voice too formal. "Last night, an incident occurred involving—" Amina stepped forward, gently but decisively replacing his place at the podium, and the room stilled. She didn't look at the cameras. She looked into them. "I was detained without cause," she said, voice calm. "This is not unusual. It is not unique. It is not shocking. It is simply documented now." Pen scratched. Cameras clicked. No one exhaled. "This incident is not about my title," she continued. "It is about a culture that allows assumptions to become authority and authority to become harm." A reporter called out, "Are you pressing charges?" Amina didn't blink. "There will be a full review. Is the officer suspended?" Hammond stepped in, voice thin. "Officer Rourke has been placed on temporary administrative leave pending investigation." The room, erupted shouts, questions, flashes, movement. Amina remained still. She heard the sound differently. Not chaos, not outrage. Momentum. Outside, the crowd swelled. Protesters with signs, residents with tired eyes, students filming everything. Their voices rose and layered. Accountability. No more silence. "We saw what we saw." Amina stepped out into the noise. The crowd parted. Not reverent. Not awed, simply recognizing her. Someone reached toward her. "Not grabbing, just presence. We're here," the woman said, softly. Amina nodded once. The storm didn't frighten her. She had seen storms before. This one had. Evidence. This one had witnesses. This one had a center that did not break. The community center smelled of coffee and paper cups and rain-damp coats. Folding chairs scraped the linoleum floor as residents gathered in uneven rows. Some stood along the walls, arms crossed, shoulders tight. Some held phones. Some held silence like a shield. Amina entered without escort. No podium, no prepared remarks. Just the room, whispers traveled. That's her. She the one from the video? Commissioner, right? She grew up on Preston Street, I heard. The council moderator, a thin woman with tired eyes and too many responsibilities, cleared her throat. We're here to discuss public safety concerns in light of recent events. Man in the second row scoffed. Events? You mean the cop who threw her like trash? The moderator hesitated. Please, let's maintain order. Amina stepped forward. Let him speak. The man's voice rose, sharp with exhaustion. We've been telling you this for years. We get stopped walking home, stopped sitting on our own porches, and y'all keep taking notes and making committees and nothing changes. A woman beside him nodded hard. My son got searched outside the laundromat last month. No apology, no explanation. They don't protect us. They patrol us. Murmurs. Agreement. Pain layered like sediment. A uniformed officer stationed near the exit shifted. Jaw tense, Amina addressed the room, tone steady. I know the patterns. I do not deny them. A young man crossed his arms. But you're part of the system. A ripple of breath, tension spiking, Amina met his eyes. Yes, I'm inside the system. That is why this matters. He shook his head. Systems don't change from inside. They swallow you. An older woman near the wall spoke next. Voice soft but carrying. Baby, don't be so sure. Sometimes you need somebody already holding the door open. The room's rope-tight tension loosened but did not disappear. A community elder rose slowly, leaning on a cane. His voice was gravel and memory. Child, when they put those cuffs on you, did you feel surprised? The room stilled. Amina did not look away. No one breathed. And that, the elder said, is the problem. A hush settled over the chairs. Heavy as a closing sermon, Amina stepped forward. I didn't reveal who I was, she said, because I wanted the truth to be visible, not defended, not excused, not rewritten in a report. The young man still watching her asked, quieter now. You knew they'd treat you like that. Amina nodded. I've known my whole life how someone like me is seen before I speak a word. The officer near the exit swallowed, visible even from across the room. Another resident, a middle-aged woman with work-worn hands, raised her voice. So what now? He gets fired? And nothing else changes? No, Amina said. There will be hearings. Policy revision, training reform, oversight expansion, documentation of patterns, removal of repeat offenders, data transparency mandates, and community review power over misconduct resolutions. The room didn't erupt. It didn't cheer. It listened, because what she listed was work, not spectacle. Real change sounded like paperwork, time, resistance, and exhaustion. The moderator looked relieved, but cautious. Commissioner Carter, will the department cooperate? Amina answered without pause. They will. Or they will answer for refusing. A soft, incredulous laugh came from the back. Not mockery, disbelief thawing into hope. The door opened. Officer Rourke entered. His uniform was gone. Plain clothes, eyes dark-rimmed. He must have thought he could slip in unnoticed. He was wrong. Everybody turned toward him at once, the room shifting like a tide. Rourke's voice cracked. I'm here to— No, Amina said, not loud. Not angry, final. Rourke froze mid-step. This space is for the harmed, she continued, not the one who caused harm. His jaw clenched. Pride fought with fear. Shame flickered beneath both. I just wanted to explain. A resident shouted, we don't need your explanations. The crowd stirred, anger rising like heat. Rourke flinched. Amina raised one hand. And the room stilled, not out of obedience, but recognition. If you want to take responsibility, she told him, do it in the hearing room. On record, under oath, not here. Rourke stood motionless. Then slowly he backed toward the door. Someone whispered, he thought this was redemption. Someone else answered, he thought attention was redemption. The door closed behind him. Amina let silence settle again. Not peace, but clarity. She scanned the room, voice quieter now, closer. This community has carried this burden alone for too long. I will not promise ease. I will not promise speed. But I will not disappear. Not from the work. Not from the truth. Not from you. No applause followed. This wasn't a moment for applause, it was a contract. One signed in shared recognition of pain, and the refusal to look away from it. The news broke on a Tuesday morning, quietly at first, like a match struck behind a closed door. Then it caught a second video, not the shove, not the cuffs. This one was filmed inside the precinct garage, grainy angled from behind a patrol car windshield, timestamp flickering. Officer Rourke stood leaning against the squad car. Daniels beside him. Two others near the back wall, they were laughing. Rourke said, "Did you see her face?" "Thought she was somebody." Daniels shifted, uncomfortable. Yeah, but Rourke cut him off. "No, listen. These people act like..." The audio warped, but the tone was unmistakable. Dismissal, ownership, casual certainty. Then the kicker. Rourke mimed the shove. The tilt of his hand. The backward step. The impact. Laughter again. The clip ended there. It was enough. It spread faster than the first video because this one answered the question people had been asking. Was it bias? Now they didn't have to ask. By noon, the police headquarters had barricades up. Reporters pressed against the metal. Protest signs layered the sidewalk like overlapping pages of a single loud story. "We saw it, this is what happens. Accountability is not optional chance, rolled like waves, rising, falling, never breaking." Inside, the chief's office was a furnace. Papers scattered across the desk. Hand slamming, voices too loud. Chief Hammond's face was hollowed with sleeplessness. "We can't hold this any longer. He has to go." Deputy Chief Reeves shook his head. "The union says termination before official review will trigger a lawsuit." He mocked the arrest. "On camera. And if we terminate him without due process, the union will use it to claim we're folding to public pressure." Hammond rubbed his temples. "We are folding to public pressure." Reeves exhaled through his nose. "Then we need cover." The room stilled. They turned to her. Amina was seated, posture composed, hands loosely clasped in her lap. She hadn't spoken yet. Hammond leaned forward. "Say something, please." Amina looked at them. Two men standing at the top of a structure that was cracking beneath them. "When harm is documented," she said, "delay is a choice. Delay communicates loyalty to the abuser, not to the public." Reeves grimaced. "That sounds like a speech. I need something actionable." "You want actionable," Amina said. "Here it is." She leaned in. "Terminate him. Let the union fight. Let the lawsuit come. Let the hearing be public. And let them stand in front of the people and argue in full view of cameras that this behavior is defensible." Silence. Reeves blinked. Hammond breathed out slowly. "You're turning the fight into testimony." "Yes, you're weaponizing transparency." "No," Amina said. "I'm removing secrecy. Secrecy has always been the weapon." Across town, Rourke sat on his bed, scrolling furiously. The comments sliced. "You're done. This is who you are. This is who you always were." He threw the phone. It hit the wall and slid under the dresser. His chest was tight, breath uneven. He wasn't thinking in full sentences, just fragments. "I didn't mean, it's not like, if she had just..." His front door rattled. He flinched. But it wasn't a crowd. Just a single knock. Daniel's voice through the wood. "It's me." Rourke opened the door. Daniel's face was gray with nerves. They saw the video. Rourke laughed once, hollow. "No kidding." Daniels looked at him, really looked. "You crossed a line." Rourke's jaw clenched. "We've all crossed lines." Daniels didn't disagree. He just didn't defend him. That was worse. Back at headquarters, the final meeting before the announcement took place in a small conference room. Not dramatic, not staged. Just people at a table deciding a man's future. Reeves read out the motion. Immediate termination of Officer James Rourke on grounds of misconduct, violation of ethical standards, and behavior incompatible with public trust. Hammond signed. Amina did not smile. She only nodded once. It was not victory. It was step one. The official announcement was made on the precinct steps. Cameras flashed. Protesters watched with folded arms. Officers hovered behind tinted windows. Chief Hammond spoke. "Effective immediately, Officer Rourke has been terminated." The department acknowledges systemic issues in practice and oversight. Reforms will follow. It was stiff, careful, administrative. Then Amina stepped to the microphone. The crowd quieted without being asked. Accountability, she said, is not a gesture. It is not a statement. It is a structure. And structures must be rebuilt, not merely repainted. No cheers, no applause, just intention, a shared, heavy understanding, the kind that does not evaporate tomorrow, the kind that stays. That night, Amina sat alone in her office, lights low, window open to the city. Her phone buzzed with messages, support, gratitude, fury, demands, expectations. She didn't answer any of them. Instead, she closed her eyes. She breathed in the weight of the day, not triumph, not relief. Change always had a cost, and mourning would require more. The chamber was built to intimidate. Stone walls, vaulted ceiling, banners suspended with rigid symmetry. Everything in its place. No wasted ornament. The commission sat elevated behind a single slab of blackened iron shaped into a desk without seams. 5 members. No expressions. No introductions. Their authority was self-evident. The hall held silence, the kind that presses against the ribs. The guards at the door stood motionless. No visible weapons. Their stillness was weapon enough. The doors closed behind Arlen with a low final sound. He walked to the marked circle in the center of the floor. It was not a platform. It was a boundary. The place where statements could be heard but not negotiated. He said nothing. Speaking without being addressed was considered disorder. Disorder was penalized. The Central Commissioner began reading from a slate. The voice was level and unmodulated. Arlen, Vale, former archivist 3rd class, charged with unauthorized retrieval of restricted file 717B, charged with independent cross-referencing outside sanctioned inquiry scope. Charged with dissemination to an unsanctioned party. Do you dispute record of action? This was not a question. The Commission did not ask questions. It issued statements and waited for contradictions. Contradictions identified targets for correction. Arlen did not contradict. The slate was set aside. The Commissioner continued. This chamber does not address motive. Motive is irrelevant. Action is measurable. Measurable action is the only domain of judgment. The words moved through the room at a steady pace. No urgency. No aggression. The tone represented total structural confidence. The system did not need to raise its voice. You retrieved information classified to prevent destabilization of allocation hierarchies. The action demonstrates either failure of loyalty conditioning or deliberate defiance. Both require resolution. Do you assert loyalty remains intact? This was the first prompt that required a response. Arlen's voice remained even. Loyalty remains intact. There was no change in the Commission's posture. They registered statements only as data points. The Commissioner to the far right activated a mechanism embedded in the desk. A display unfolded from the air itself. No projection device visible. The content was a map, not of territories, of influence pathways, networks of authority, flow of directives, allocation lines, control structure of the entire administrative order. The structure Arlen had disrupted. The map spoke clearly. The system was extensive, interconnected, and rigidly organized. Any interference created fractures that propagated. You accessed a node intersecting 3 allocation lines, the Commissioner said. Individual access at that junction introduces non-sanctioned interpretation into distribution channels. Interpretation generates variance. Variance generates instability. Instability produces collapse. Therefore, your action is equivalent to attempted systemic compromise. The hall remained still. The logic was complete, the conclusion inevitable. Their framework allowed only one acceptable outcome. Arlen observed the commissioners. Their faces displayed no judgment. They did not regard him as a threat, adversary, or traitor. They regarded him as a miscalibrated component. The system was not punitive. It was corrective. Correction was absolute. The leftmost commissioner spoke next. You delivered the information to an external node. The node is unidentified. The commission requires the identity of the recipient for full stabilization. Arlen did not respond immediately. Time did not indicate hesitation. Time indicated weight of consequence. Silence in this chamber was measured precisely. He spoke. The recipient remains unknown to all parties, including myself. The retrieval was preconditioned by an encoded directive. I followed the directive. The source of the directive does not register within my cognition. The Commission recorded the statement. The truthfulness of the statement would be extracted through separate means. This hearing existed only to determine classification and assignment. The Central Commissioner concluded. The Commission recognizes that your actions resulted from chain triggers outside your conscious intent. Intent is immaterial. Output is material. Therefore, reclassification is mandatory. The hall lights shifted. A new symbol appeared behind the Commission. The symbol signified reassignment to operative tier, removal of civilian identity, assignment to controlled deployment unit. You are no longer Arlen Vale, the Central Commissioner said. Designation is now Vector 6. You will operate externally. You will locate the unidentified node. You will return the network to equilibrium. Failure to do so will result in termination of designation. Not termination of life, termination of function. Guards stepped forward. Still no weapons displayed. Their presence was directive enough. Arlen did not resist. He did not lower his gaze. He did not internalize the Commission's decision as loss. Identity within this system was functional. Names changed. Roles changed. The core of awareness remained. As he turned to leave, the Commissioner delivered the final line of the session. Stability is the foundation. All identities serve stability. You will act accordingly. The doors opened. The corridor outside was silent. No observers, no crowd. The transition from civilian research to operative designation was not public. The public did not need to witness structural corrections. Arlen walked forward. The new designation settled with precision. Vector 6, purpose defined, task explicit. No ambiguity. No emotional residue. The system's logic had become his directive structure. Outside the chamber, the city continued its regulated motion. Transit rails moved in synchronized cycles. Worker blocks transitioned between shifts without disruption. Everything functioned. Vector 6 moved into the flow without resistance. The system had recalibrated him. Correction complete. Operation underway.